being your own boss, is it right for you? A couple of things to think about. Who's going to show you the ropes? And I don't mean in theory. I think there's a lot of theory around. I think small businesses, the small business folks in the government have offices, and there are offices in academia and entrepreneur programs. And I think those are very helpful. But if you are interested in going out to be your own boss, I think you need to have somebody around you who's going to show you the ropes. And it might be a family business. It might be somebody that you have previously worked for. Once again, not theoretical, but boots on the ground, really being your own boss, running your own business. The second thing I will ask you to think about is, what are you going to sell and to whom? And once again, the emphasis is not to be theoretical. Don't sell to people who need what you have. Sell to people who have budget to pay for the product or the service that you are offering. And the third thing I would say is, in your own temperament, what is your own important sense of when to say yes and when to say no? Because there are numerous decisions that you have to make. There are people who will tell you that it's very important to have an attorney, to have a formal business plan, to have things that are completely buttoned up around contracting and taxes. And I'm not dismissing any of that. However, I think that when you are starting out in business, you need to be frugal with how you spend your time. You can have all that infrastructure in place and take months and months or longer to do that, but you haven't made a dollar. I've known many successful business people who have gone a long while without doing a lot of the infrastructure and just work on developing the sale, making the sale. Another point I'd like to make about setting up is that I think that there's a bit of a fantasy that we can outsource. I can outsource a sales force. I can outsource somebody who can sell for me. And generally, it doesn't work out well, because the other person is not going to know exactly what it is that you need to accomplish and what you can deliver as well as you do. You have to learn things yourself. And this is a common thread that I've seen among many of the business people that I followed who are sharing their wisdom. And that is, basically, many, many parts of your business you will have to figure out yourself. Nobody's coming. It is just you. Another point I would make about being in your own business is that you really, I believe, need to have a pretty good understanding about your own tolerance for risk and your own relationship with money, because there are lots of ways that you can lose your balance. Either by seeing, someone that I've worked with said, when you're in your own business, money tends to go out in dribbles. Like a fire hose and come in dribbles. And you have to know how you're going to feel about this. You also need to understand your family and the other people in your life and what they are going to say about this, and how they are going to be able to tolerate being in this circumstance where your income is now in a more uncertain place, or a seemingly more uncertain place. The final point I'll make before I close, and that is because I've been in business a very long time by myself, and I've worked with many, many other people. If your mindset is, well, if I work for somebody else, I'm secure, whereas if I spend time developing my own business, I'm always insecure. Certainly there's some truth in that, But I would also say that if you spend the time to develop your own business and your own sense of yourself as your own boss, it's very unlikely that you'll ever go back to zero. Whereas when you work for a corporation or a small business, and the day comes that somebody comes to you and says, we're letting you go today, you've gone to zero right then. So self-employment may actually not be as insecure as it looks. Look, I don't think it's an easy decision. I do have some free downloadable material that you can take a look at, some checklists, some things to think about. There are lots of resources, government resources, self-employment resources by the workforce development people. There are lots of resources out there, and I think go for them all. I hope that that what we tell you here at Work That Satisfies will be of assistance to you. And we know it's really a decision worth wrestling with. Is it right for you to be your own boss? Because I believe work should satisfy.